Okay, so we are going to write our equations today in standard form or point slope form. So I just want to talk to you about standard form. Remember that when we use standard form, that means that we have two unknown values. Two unknown values. That's how you know you're going to use standard form. You have the x coordinate and the y coordinate, and it equals some constant. So you use standard form when you have two unknown values. When do you use point slope form? Well, you use point slope form when you are given the slope and a point and an ordered pair. Sometimes you won't be given the slope. Sometimes you'll be given two ordered pairs and you have to calculate the slope, right, from those two ordered pairs, just like we did in examples 9 and 10 from our homework yesterday, okay? And then you just choose which point you want to use. It doesn't matter ever. When you guys are writing an equation in point slope form and you're given 2 points, it doesn't matter which point you use. They're both going to produce the same equation, okay? So a media download store sells songs for $2 each and movies for $12 each. You have $60 to spend. Write and graph. I'm trying to pull up Desmos as I'm talking. I'm struggling. Write and graph an equation that describes the items that you can purchase. And then we have to give 3 combinations of the numbers of songs and movies you can purchase. So let's see. How much what are our variables? What are our unknowns? Well, our first unknown, X, is going to be the number of songs. We know the price of it, but we just don't know how many we're going to buy. And our other unknown, Y, is the what? Oh, the screen is frozen. You don't see that. What is Y? Number of, what's the other thing we're talking about? Movies. Yeah, it's asking you, what are the combinations of numbers of songs and movies you can purchase? So those are our variables, number of songs and number of movies. So now we have to write an equation. How much does it cost to rent a song? So that's $2 for every song that I rent, plus how much does it cost to rent a movie? So that's $12 for every movie that I rent. And how much total money did I spend? $60. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to do some labeling on our graph. X is going to be the number of songs, and Y is the number of movies. I don't label my, I don't count my grids. I don't label them until I figure out what numbers I'm working with, okay? So I can label my axes, like what X represents and what Y represents, but I'm not gonna number it until I figure out how we're gonna count. I might have to count by 2s or 5s. So how am I gonna figure out how many songs I can purchase? Well, I'm gonna use the cover-up method. So I'm just gonna cover this up. So let's see, that gives me 2x equals 60, which means x equals what? If 2x equals 60, x equals 30. Good job, Isaac. X equals 30. So now I'm going to move that guy, that box. Well, that moved everything. That's all right. And what am I going to do now? What am I going to cover up now? Yeah, I want to figure out how many movies I can buy. If I don't buy any songs, how many movies can I buy? Well, that gives me 12y equals 60, which means y equals 5. Good job. So let's see. I need to be able to have 30 on my x-axis, and I only need to have 5 on my y-axis. So on my x-axis, I'm going to count by twos, and this is how I do it. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I only put a mark on the 10s. 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. If you try to number every single grid, I can't write that small neatly. It just gets all jumbled and messy, okay? Now on the y-axis, I'm just going to count by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm not going to count anymore because I don't have to go any higher than that. Let's see. I know I crossed the x-axis at 30 and I crossed the y-axis at 5. So I'm just going to connect those 2 points. I'm going to connect those 2 points. Okay. So now I'm going to minimize this because we're actually going to use Desmos to find our 3 combinations. Because we're supposed to list 3 combinations of songs and movies that we can purchase, right? So I'm going to shrink this up a little bit so we can graph this in Desmos. And I want you guys to use Desmos when you do this. It's going to be helpful. So I'm going to input this equation right here. 2x plus 12y equals 60. And Desmos graphs it. Look, it crosses the y-axis at 5, and it crosses the x-axis at 30, okay? But I want to know what some other possibilities are. I want to know some other possible combinations. So I want to look for places on my graph where it crosses an exact number, like right here. What is that number? 24 and 1. X is 24. What does X represent? What's the variable X? The songs. So I could buy 24 songs and 1 movie because that's the ordered pair 24-1. Where else does it cross a grid line exactly? Looks like right here. What's that number? That ordered pair. So that means that I can buy 18 songs or 2 movies. Okay, let's keep looking at our graph. What about right here? Whoops. I'm trying to get right on it. What's that point? 12-3. So what does that mean, Ariana? 12 songs and 3 movies. Okay, let's keep going. I could also buy, what do you think this is? 6 songs and 4 movies. Plus I have my 2 intercepts. The first one was the ordered pair 30-0. So I could buy 30 songs and 0 movies. And the other one was the ordered pair 0-5. I could buy 0 songs or 5 movies. Now we only need to come up with 3 of these, but I want to show you how you can use your graph in Desmos to figure out what those 3 would be. You want to find points on your line that exactly cross a grid line. Do you guys understand when I say what I mean by saying exactly cross a grid line? Like it's right there. And if you get right on it, it'll actually populate the number. You can always use your 2 intercepts as an option. You can always use the x0 and the 0y. Those can always be 2 of the 3. So you really only need to find 1 more option. Okay? Does that make sense? right? Okay, I'm going to make this nice and big again, and we're going to set up number 2. We're just going to set it up. Okay. So in a video game, you earn 5 points for each jewel that you find, and you earn 2 points for each star that you find. Write and graph an equation that represents the number of jewels and number of stars. So those are our variables, number of jewels, number of stars. So I'm going to let x equal the number of jewels, and I'm going to let y equal the number of stars. Okay. X is the number of jewels and y is the number of stars. How many total points are we trying to earn? 250. So how many points is a jewel worth? So that's going to be 5x plus, how many points is a star worth? 2y equals 250. So now we have to set our graph up. How am I going to label my axes? What are the words that I'm going to put down here for the x-axis? What does the x-axis represent? Number of jewels. What does the y-axis represent? Number of stars. Instead of jewels, you put what? Okay. So let's use the cover-up method. Let's use the cover-up method and find out. So I'm going to get rid of this really fast. I'm just going to move it. Oh, I just can't do that. I'm just going to erase it. So when I use the cover-up method, I have the equation 5x equals, which means x equals 50. X equals 50. Okay, you were doing the y one. If every star is worth 2 points, then I get rid of this and I have the equation 2y equals 250, which means y equals 125. Okay, so how are we going to count our x-axis? Count by 5s? I think that sounds good. Who said that? Who said that? Who chose that? Aiden? Good job. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. And I'm not going to count it anymore because I don't have to. I only need to go to 50. How are we going to count our y-axis? It has to go all the way up to 125. By 25? Sure, let's do it. 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150. I think that's perfect. I counted by tens, I counted by tens, so I was in the middle of a grid line, but that's perfect. So let's see. We know that x is crossing at 50, and we cross the y-axis at 125. So I'm going to connect these with a nice, beautifully straight line, or as straight as I can get it. Okay? You are going to give me the 3 options. You are going to give me the 3 options using what? Yeah, use Desmos. Okay? That's homework. Use Desmos. Okay? Don't do it right now. And you are going to do number 3 on your own. That's also homework. Okay? Got it? Okay, flip over. So all of the ones on the front page are what form? Standard. So what do you think the ones on the back page are going to be? Point slope. Good job, you guys. Okay, so the ones on the back are going to be point slope. Remember to write an equation in point slope form. What do we need? Refresh my memory. It's in the name. It tells you exactly what you need. You need a what? You need a point, and you need slope. That's why it's called point slope form. Okay? So remember, it's going to give you slope and an ordered pair, or you may be given two ordered pairs. Okay? So let's read this. A manager of a restaurant found that the cost to produce 200 cups of coffee is $167, while the cost to produce 400 cups of coffee is $317. Assume that the relationship between the cost to produce, that's Y, and X, the number of cups, is linear. So Y is the cost, and X is the number of cups. I got that right from the reading. Well, I don't see anything that looks like slope, each, every, but I do see two sets of numbers, like two pairs of numbers, right? Do you guys see that? If X is cups, well, I see the number 200 and Y is cost paired up with 167. That's my first ordered pair. 200 cups paired up with a cost of 167. And I also see another pairing, 400 cups, that's X, paired up with 317 cost. That's my Y. So those are my two ordered pairs. Okay? So we have to write an equation in point slope form, but we're only given two ordered pairs. What do we have to do first? Look at question number 9 from your homework if you don't know. Yeah, we have to find slope. First, we need to find slope. Okay. Y sub 2, 317, minus Y sub 1, 167, over X sub 2, 400, minus X sub 1, 200. What is 317 over 160, or sorry, 317 minus 167? It's 150. What is 400 minus 200? Can we reduce that? What is 150 divided by 200? 0.75. That means that the cost per cup is 75 cents. So cost per cup of coffee. Okay, so that's my slope. What ordered pair do you want to use? Because it doesn't make any difference. You tell me what ordered pair do you want to use? Okay, so we're going to use the ordered pair 200, 167. Remember, this is my X sub 1, and this is my Y sub 1. And we're going to use the slope of 0.75, and we're going to plug it into Y minus Y sub 1 equals M times the quantity of X minus X sub 1. All right. Who feels like they can tell me this point slope form equation by plugging it in 100%? Who feels like they can do that? Ariana, go ahead. You got it, girl.
Y minus 167
Perfect.
equals 0.75 and
Parenthesis.
X minus 200.
Absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. This is your equation in point slope form. Absolutely perfect. Okay? Don't make it any harder than it is. Just plug those numbers in there. You got this. Okay? The second part of this question says, how many cups of coffee? This is asking us how many cups of coffee. This is like saying, what is X? Because remember, X is the number of cups of coffee. What is X when it costs, when Y equals $414.50? What are we going to do now? Nope, we are not. we're going to take this equation, y minus 167 equals 0.75 times x minus 200. And we are going to let y equal $414.50. We're just going to replace the y in the equation. So that way we can solve for x. That way we can solve for the x. So let's see. That gives me $414.50 minus 167 equals 0.75 times x minus 200. We are solving for x. We are trying to solve for x. So let's simplify this first. What is $414.50 minus 167? Someone throw that in their calculator and tell me what they get.
247.5.
That is exactly what I got. 247.5. 247.5 equals, I have to get rid of this parenthesis. How am I going to do that? Distribute. 0.75 times x is just that, 0.75x. What is 0.75 times a negative 200? What is 0.75 times a negative 200?
Negative 150.
Negative 150. I'm trying to get x all by itself. What do you want to do? We're going to add 150 to both sides. Add 150 to both sides. So that gives me 397.5 equals 0.75x. I'm going to rewrite that right here. 397.5 equals 0.75x. Trying to get x all by itself, what do I do now? Divide both sides by, yeah. So how many cups of coffee do I have to sell for a cost of $414.50? 530 cups. Yeah. X equals 530 cups. What does that mean? That means that when you sell 530 cups, it costs you $414.50 to produce that. Costs $414.30 to produce 530 cups of coffee. Okay? Are we good with that? Okay. We're going to read number 5 and we're going to talk about it and get it set up so you guys can finish it on your own, okay? So a farmer buys a new tractor for $153,000 and assumes that it's going to have a trade-in value of $88,000 after 10 years. The farmer uses a constant rate of depreciation. So let's talk about that. The rate tells me my slope, right? What does depreciation mean? It means that it decreases in price. It decreases in price. Okay? So we have to write a linear equation in point slope form. So when I buy my brand new tractor, it costs me $153,000. And after 10 years, it's worth $88,000. Well, this is definitely an ordered pair. 10 years is the time. $88,000 is the other one, like the y coordinate. What about when my tractor is brand new? How old is it? How many years old is it when it's brand new when I first buy it? It's 0 years old. Yeah. So that's going to be the ordered pair 0, 153,000. I do not put commas in my ordered pairs, even if I'm using the thousands, because otherwise it looks like you got an ordered pair with three commas in there, or 2 commas, 3 numbers. That's confusing. So just leave it like that. So what are we going to do first? Look up at the one above us. Yeah, first we have to find slope. Then what are we going to do? You're going to use the slope that you found and one ordered pair. Let's just say what ordered pair are you going to use? Sure. I think that's a good idea. So you're going to use the slope that you discover in that ordered pair, and you're going to write the equation y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. Okay? So you're just going to plug those in. Got it? This second part says, what is the depreciated value of the tractor after 6 years? This means you're going to take this equation that you get and you're going to let x equal 6. So you're going to plug x equals 6 into this equation. You're plugging it in right here. You're not changing the x sub 1. You're plugging it in right there after you get your equation. Just like we plugged in for y in the top, not y sub 1. Okay? Does that make sense? So what do you think about number 5? What is number 5 going to be? Number 5 is homework also, right? So number 5 is homework. Number 3 is homework. And you're going to give me the values that you discovered when you used Desmos for number 2. So finish up number 2, 3, and 5. Finish up number 2, 3, and 5.